Hey everybody, Kristyglass here with a finished object for you. It's a little bit different from a normal finished object video. I am wearing a sweater that I knit. It's called The Willow by Pam Allen, but this is not about that sweater. Whenever I wear something on the program, I try really hard to talk about it before it appears on the program, so that if you're wondering, what is she wearing? You can go on over to the playlist that says Kristy's Finished Objects and scroll through that to look at the screenshot, to find the sweater or garment that I'm wearing. You could also go to my Ravelry finished projects page or projects page, and you can see that I have photos and I log the pattern there as well. So today's finished object is a felted finished object, and it's a bit of a spoiler alert if you are a huge Star Wars fan and for some reason have not had a chance to see The Mandalorian yet. It is a limited series on Disney Plus app. I believe it's only available there. I think it's 8 episodes, and it's about a bounty hunter, the Mandalorian. And I will be very shocked if you haven't seen this already, but I'm just letting you know, if you want a complete virgin eyeballs on Mandalorian and you haven't watched it yet, you should probably stop watching this video. We took some family time to watch this together. My 7-year-old is really into Star Wars, and it was really fun because early on in the series of Mandalorian, there is a character that has come to be known as the Child. Some people are calling it Baby Yoda, although I have also heard that it's not Yoda, that it's just the same species as Yoda. The Baby Yoda, or the Child, is the most endearing character. The way they make this character Yoda that we know so well into a baby, it's just so compelling. There's lots of memes about it. It's a very pop culture situation right now. There's a song about it. And so my daughter has been so into this that I actually looked into purchasing a Baby Yoda. I looked into a crochet version. I kind of searched Etsy, eBay, various places, and I did think about crocheting it. Then I saw that there is a plush Baby Yoda that's going on sale in May, but I wanted to give this to her for Christmas, so I ended up choosing the felting route, and here it is. So I'm really glad I chose the felting route for a few reasons. One is Baby Yoda is a bit fuzzy, so I don't know if you can see, but this has some halo to it. It's fuzzy because it's wool, and I think the color is spot on. I really, in general, love how this turned out, and she's been playing with it, so I've actually had to do a few touch-ups already with the felting. I worked really hard to make it look as accurate as possible, and I'm not going to put an image of Baby Yoda on here because I don't own the rights for that, but I'm sure you can Google it right now. Just move your screen over and go look. I did a pretty good job. It's not perfect, but I tried very, very hard. When I do something hard in felting or in embroidery, because I just kind of improvise it, I don't use a pattern or anything, I choose the hardest part first. I say to myself, what will be the hardest part of this, or what will be like a make or break moment for me if I get to this point and I can't imitate it? You know, that's where I begin, because otherwise, if let's say I had started with the coat or the ear, I would have done all this work, and then if the face was a bust, I would have had to abandon ship. So I tried really hard to imitate the face and the hands. There isn't a lot of legs showing in Baby Yoda, and he wears this very oversized, he wears this very oversized coat. So I just went with like a swaddle look, kind of Waldorfian, like no body parts on the bottom, which was all I even had time for because I was making this just a few days up to Christmas. I think I started it on the 22nd, and felting takes a long time. So I will let you try to guess what was the hardest part. Well, where I began, the make or break part. I'm even actually pretty pleased with the hands. I think the hands turned out really well, and I tried to give the Child like little indentations here on the arms. Anyway, for me, I knew the make or break point would be the nose. So I started with the nose because Baby Yoda, the Child, has the tiniest little nose. So I started right there in on the nose and the mouth, and of course the eyes. So as I was incorporating the eyes, I used amigurumi eyeballs. I think you can see they're shiny. And I chose the eyeballs that I just had in my stash. I did not purchase anything special for this. I just have amigurumi eyeballs on hand. The only thing I purchased was this green color and then some brown. So you can see there's brown here. This is brown I purchased. But I had this very nubbly sort of natural wool already in my felting stash. And I'm gonna put this coat back on. Baby Yoda looks cold. So I started with the muzzle, I guess you could call it, and I kept having to remind myself that this is not a human baby, that it's an alien, because as I was going, I was thinking, well, this kind of looks a little alien. This doesn't look quite right, and I had to give myself permission to sort of break the rules of humanity, like, it's not a human, it's okay. So I started with the nose, because the nose is so tiny, and then I went for the eyes, because the proportion of the eyes to the nose had to be right, or else it wasn't going to be convincing that it was Yoda or the child. And as I was going, the eyes just weren't looking right. It was looking like an old man, like old Yoda. And I will flash, I was showing friends in the Marco Polo app how I was doing, and I didn't take a proper picture. So I'm going to flash kind of an image, and you'll see what I'm talking about. It kind of has this old man look to it. And then I realized that the eyes also they weren't the right shape, and they weren't taking up enough space on the face. So I ended up incorporating some black felt around the eyeball, and that's when I felt like, yes, now we're looking like an alien Baby Yoda. So after I could kind of get the eyes and the nose to be right, I then started working on these cheeks and the mouth. And there are some subtle facial changes that Yoda makes throughout the series, but in general, all the photos that I could find to reference, Baby Yoda kind of had a dipped down face and a little bit of a sad look. So I went with sad Yoda. And after I was getting that, I was really happy with the face. I hadn't made the coat yet. I had just kind of swaddled it in some burlap, and I'll show you a picture of Yoda once I was done with a few sessions of Yoda. And as I was looking, I realized I needed more head, because it was a little bit just like too flat or something. So the next day I started trying to build this up with some wool. So I was building up the hat and trying to make some very specific lines in there that kind of matched with the images I was checking online. I tried to rework the ears a bit more. I mean, this could use a little more work. There was some fleshy tones in the photos, like where light was kind of reflecting off. So I really tried to incorporate some of that in the cheeks, the mouth, the nose, and the ears there. I also tried to have these ears kind of fold over a bit. I added some some wool here to kind of give it that effect once I was reworking this. And then it was time to make the coat. So the coat was fairly simple. I did it in pieces, the back piece, the two front panels, and then I felted them together, leaving holes for the arms. And as I was working on this coat, I was also working on the arms at the same time. So I really tried to make it proportional to how the child looks in the film, and just worked really hard to get those little nails and those little fingers. I was so grateful that Yoda only had 3 fingers on each side. That was a really nice blessing. And again, like I said, I just kind of Waldorfian styled it, like, let's just have a suggestion of a body, and then we can also take the coat off and swaddle baby, the child Yoda, or whatever. So I'm very happy with how it turned out. Oh, I will say for the body, because it was so thick, I did start the base a little bit with some hot water and dish soap. I just kind of agitated a bunch of wool, and it's the same color. I used all the same color. I just spent a little bit of time agitating it just to kind of like speed up the process a bit. I also, for the first time, used the Clover tool that has 3 needle felting needles in one. That sped up the process a ton. So when I wanted to sort of get a big chunk done of the coat or on the head or the body, I was using 3 needles at a time and doing rapid motions. But then when I got to sections with more detail, I was just using a single needle to really finesse the details in the face. For Christmas, I put Baby Yoda into the tree, and I just kind of waited to see how long it would take my daughter to notice it on Christmas morning, and she found it pretty quickly, and it was a very fun surprise. I love making handmade things for the holidays, and this was the only handmade thing I made this year, and I barely got it done in time, but it was so wonderful. I actually got this roving on Amazon. I think it was through Paradise. And then this natural one I got at Pearl Soho years ago. Pearl Soho has some really fun needle felting, just wool and little tiny balls there at the Pearl Soho shop, which I have a good store of that as well. I do love needle felting. I find it really rewarding, a really fun time, and it is a very easy art to pick up. You just need the pad and the needle felting needles. I would suggest getting many because they break sometimes, and a bit of a vision, and you just sort of start going for it, and I really enjoy making this. Thank you so much for checking into Kristy Glass Knits. Makes the child Baby Yoda, and I will see you next time. Bye.